Hey, you caught me looking at Funkin' Wagnall's Encyclopedia, Volume 21 to be specific. I'm interested in sleep, if you can't tell by my channel. I'm fascinated by this thing that we do 8 hours a day, yet we're not really quite there for it. At least we can't remember much of it. Even the dreams and the imagery that we associate with sleep often slip away from us like sand through our fingers. In the morning, we spend almost a third of our lives sleeping. You know, if you're 90 years old, that's almost 30 years sleeping. It's a critical function of our human lives, and of course many other animals do as well. But you know, like maybe sex, eating, drinking, breathing, working out, it can be enjoyable. We can of course have too much or too little, but it's interesting that there's a lot of interesting things about it, but it's interesting that we can enjoy it, yet it's necessary. And I kind of want to explore that a little more today. So we're gonna be looking at sleep through the lens, of course, of ASMR. But first, let's find out what we knew, at least in 1979, about sleep. This short article here opens up with a definition of sleep. It's a recurrent physiological state of humans and other animals, mostly vertebrates, characterized by the loss of consciousness and a very marked slowing of various functions of the mind and body. Periods of sleep are necessary for the preservation of all life, and during such periods the body apparently recuperates from the effect of waking activity. And then it goes on to many theories that have been advanced to explain the physiological causes of sleep. One theory proposes that sleep is caused by the accumulation of what are commonly called fatigue toxins in the body. It's almost like poisonous substances like that we expel during respiration. When we breathe, we're expelling cellular decay, or byproducts, I guess, that to our body are toxic. So these poisonous substances produce a feeling of great tiredness in the individual. Experimental evidence from the study of Siamese twins, however, suggests that the explanation cannot be so simple. Another theory proposes that sleep is regulated by a sleep center, a particular area of our brain. They propose that it's the hypothalamus, and they even say experimental evidence indicates that this center is together with another one that's slightly forward in the brain, may be important regulators of transitions between sleep and wakefulness. So little is known, however, about the actual process that activates these centers. Several important body changes occur during sleep, and this is actually really interesting to me. This I guess the healing effects of sleep. Again, like nutrition, we know it's valuable. We know that you need to consume the proper amount of macros and minerals and other things to sustain your body's cell growth and decay, and consuming nutrients and breaking those down to release energy. And like nutrition being physically useful but also physically pleasurable, it's interesting that sleep, we all know it can be really pleasurable to find yourself and arrive at a deep, deep state of relaxation where your muscles are loose, all tension dissipates, and your mind is at rest as well. We have to imagine, and of course we've through research have found out that it's very useful and in fact essential, and it rewards us with a sensation of, if not explicit pleasure, certainly a sense of comfort and satisfaction, which is why I think the ASMR experience is so deeply linked with sleep. Anyways, those are side effects that our body rewards us with if we give it the proper amount of rest and time to recuperate. Let's see, several of these, body changes that occur during sleep. One of the most typical is a diminution of respiration. So the rate of breathing is slowed, and breathing is shallower than during wakefulness. Circulatory activity is lessened, and the heartbeat is markedly slowed as well. Your body's going into a state of hibernation, essentially short-term hibernation. Other changes include a lowering of the body temperature, relaxation of both the striated involuntary skeletal muscles and the smooth involuntary visceral muscles, and the alternations of patterns of electrical activity in the brain. Although muscles are relaxed during sleep, they are not all relaxed at the same time, and a certain amount of activity and movement actually occurs. Those studies have shown that the average sleeper changes his position about once every 17 minutes. 17 minutes. So we're not as sedentary while we sleep as we would imagine. And you know that the body is, doing something that's required, because we just get a general sense, very intuitive, very impactful effects when we don't sleep and we lack sleep. So one of the things we can definitely point to is that we notice is a sleep cycle. And there's a lot to say about that, actually. So I got an interesting, I guess these things are called Prezi. They're kind of like a slightly more advanced PowerPoint presentation. This one's by Maggie Kozelinsky. It's called Sleep and Dreams PowerPoint. And I just like it because hopefully I'll edit it in to the video, just because it's got a very interesting visual element to it. So sleep cycles, it's your internal 24-hour sleep cycle, or biological clock, in other words, also known as circadian rhythm. It regulates processes in the brain that respond to how long you've been awake and regulate the changes between light and dark. It very synced up with the daylight cycle, Earth's rotation. Your body responds to the loss of daylight by producing melatonin, which makes you sleepy, which would explain the effects. And I use one every night when I go to bed, the dimming app, where it warms the hue of your screen on your phone. Because I definitely notice my body stays more alert, my mind is a lot more distracted, a lot more just wakeful, I guess, when I leave the regular hue of my screen, make it too blue. It definitely keeps me up. And so naturally, as you might imagine, the release of melatonin at night to make you sleepy, there's an inhibitory structure or circuit, I guess, in your brain that is going to make you stay wakeful and not feel sleepy during the day, during the waking hours for the most part, except when you nap, I guess. Scientific studies on sleep have shown that that the sleep stage at awakening is an important factor in amplifying sleep inertia. Alarm clocks are used for sleep stage monitoring, and EEGs, or electroencephalographs, are used to wake people up from light sleep. A little misspelling there. So what is... I want to know what sleep stage inertia is. Sleep inertia, rather. And that is sleep inertia, psychological state of impaired cognitive and sensory motor performance that is present immediately after waking. Okay, that makes sense. It's the continuation of sleep effects like drowsiness, disorientation, and decline in motor dexterity. Interesting. Okay. Sleeping can give your body time to relax and recover from daily aches and pains. Recently, studies have found that sleep has an effect on our ability to learn, even. Studies have also found that synapses in our brain grow and use up more energy when we learn new things. I love the correlation between physical and mental exertion and recovery, because I know for a fact that, whenever you're physically exhausted after working out or doing some hard labor, you might feel a little sore, I guess, if you're out of shape. But in phases of my life where I've been in shape, I noticed that you feel really, really good. You feel like sleep was well earned, but also more effective almost if you exhausted yourself more thoroughly the day before. So that's just an interesting, I guess I'm making a correlation between that and the mental exertion. When you're pushing your mental capacity to the limit, it is noticeable that, I become more familiar with a topic that I've been reading the day before, or even, multiple days before if I've been working on it. After a good night's sleep, I feel more competent, more like I've retained more of the information, and I'm able to more readily access the information as well. So that's just an interesting, again, one of the many helpful, very, useful aspects of sleep. So it's just really cool to know that, sleep it's this enjoyable thing, but it's also a powerful regulator of your growth, mentally and physically. What does sleep provide us with? And here's a three-dimensional sort of schematic of the brain. And I believe the hypothalamus is one of these. Maybe that guy right there. What does lack of sleep get us? When you lack sleep, it affects your judgment, your coordination, and your reaction time. So your ability to manipulate thoughts in your head to make proper judgments, obviously manipulate your appendages to control things and move your own body in the world, or prevent your body from bumping into things, and reaction time to align with the correlation, or the coordination rather. So even if you're able to see something coming, you're going to have a slower reaction time to be able to avoid all the things out there in the world trying to kill us. In fact, sleep deprivation can affect you as much as being drunk. That is true. So here we go into the stages of sleep. Hopefully here we can learn a little bit more about the brain. We can get a little bit more explicit information about exactly what's going on during sleep while we're off in our dreamland. Recorded brainwaves, it says, have helped in the study of different stages of sleep. There are 4 main stages of sleep that occur, and each stage lasts about 90 to 110 minutes. Each stage may have a distinct psychological function. At first, when you fall asleep, your brain waves slow down. Then they get slower and slower in the second and third stages as you become more relaxed. And so these levels, we're working down, down, down into the deepest, most relaxed, most motionless, unperturbed state of rest. And so we're in the third stage. You can imagine that's maybe 3, it begins at the onset of it is about 3 hours after you've gone asleep. And as you go through it, you become even less aware of the world outside. And I know this because I go to sleep usually a couple hours after my girlfriend. She wakes up pretty early. And if I come to bed within 2 to 3 hours of her going to sleep, she usually wakes up. She'll wake up and check her phone, make sure it's not 6 a.m. If I go to bed 3 to 4 hours after she's gone to bed, rarely do I actually see her wake up. She kind of, rustles around when I hop into bed, but it's just interesting that, your body does slowly sink into these states of unconsciousness. And the actual muscles and the physical elements of our body trail along and follow that pattern as well. The 4th stage is the deepest stage, known as rapid eye movement, REM, sleep. Most people in this stage dream. Most people only remember dreams that occur closely toward the morning when they're about to wake up. Just because you can't remember a dream doesn't mean you've never had one. Some people believe that they simply don't remember the dream, when in reality they just, or they believe that they don't dream when they just don't remember it. And you can imagine that if we were able to retain the dreams vividly enough in memory as a waking memory of an actual event, there might be a little cross-threading going on there. There might be some significant negative mental effects of forgetting which is dream and which was reality, and indistinguishing, a little meddling, kind of a vague intermingling. If they start to be far back enough in your life, that might cause some definitely anxiety, definitely unrest and unease, and a little bit of uncertainty about what's dream and what's reality. Because I know I've definitely woken up, and it's definitely when it seems to correlate with my most vivid dreams, that you wake up almost unsure, especially if they're not as much of a characterization, especially when they're more realistic. Sometimes you wake up and there's up to 30 seconds where you're genuinely sitting there wondering whether something just happened or whether it was just a dream. So evolutionarily speaking, long-term effects, I'm sure it was detrimental to your cognitive, mental clarity during your wakeful state to be too inundated and overwhelmed with too vivid memories from your dreams. You can imagine how that might have gotten in the way of, actually planning and going about your the struggle of trying to survive in the wild back then. So, to explore rapid eye movement a little more, the fourth stage of sleep, it's indicated by the back and forth movement of the eyes rapidly, of course. You can know, if you have a dog, you can often see them do this right before they're about to move, their paws or start to whimper, depending on what they're dreaming about. After 10 minutes of REM sleep, the sleep cycle repeats 3 to 4 times. So, I've heard, let's see if they go into dreams. During REM, not only do your eyes move around quickly under your eyelids, but your heart rate actually increases. And all your automatic body processes speed up as well. So, REM sleep, I keep doing that, leaving the mouse on there. REM sleep also alternates with non-REM sleep, during which your body functions slow down and you get your deepest sleep. You can see how a person has several dreams in one night if they go through multiple REM cycles. During the REM phase, we experience something referred to as muscle atonia, which basically means that our arms and legs become paralyzed. And this prevents us. It prevents us from, again, evolutionarily, if we're thinking about things that would have been most productively successful, getting up and running off a cliff to your death because you were dreaming it wouldn't be too productive or successful in life. It wouldn't be a successful pattern to inherit from your parents. And of course, sleep is not a human thing exclusively, so that would have, the paralyzation aspect of that would have developed millions and millions of years back in geological time. And it's kind of, I remember I actually used to I used to sleep on my stomach all the time, and I stopped doing that for a while, and now I'm really extra cautious when I do, because I remember I was in that stage one night, and I think my head was maybe I had a congested nose, and because my whole body was paralyzed, and I desperately wanted to move, but my body was not responding, and that was kind of it was certainly had a lasting effect on me, in the sense that I don't do it again. Definitely modified my behavior during sleep. REM helps us renew and restore our energy. Dreams work on our brains to segregate information. So they do. We're talking about dreams here, and it's a way to analyze and file away the data that we've absorbed during conscious waking hours. And to me, that's so interesting. Our brain, I always say this, but it's one of the coolest things I've learned about the human body, and really about the universe in general, in science. And it's really a common thread across all domains of human activity that interests me, like psychology, hard science like physics and chemistry, and more speculative things, religion and philosophy. It's the human brain is the most complex thing that we know about. It's the most complex single entity. We could take sets of humans, I guess, and say that's more complex than an individual human, but nonetheless, our brains are unfathomably complex. It's just, I don't know, it's one of those things that just, when you take a step back and really consider, we have, if you have, I don't know, a collection of cables or books or whatever, just that small number of items that you're trying to uniquely arrange in a unique order, as many unique orders as you can, it's going to be a pretty large number. And take our brains that have hundreds of billions of neurons that interconnect in ways that we have some idea of, but we don't know the extent to which A, they connect, and B, the actual pathways that the electrical activity takes as it's propagating throughout the brain to, I guess, form our thoughts and deeper things than just instantaneous thoughts, memories, notions, intuitions, more fundamentally deeper in the brain, drives that we have. So the brain is, it just really, when you step back, it just fills me with wonder. It really does. It's like, and I think it's ridiculously encouraging to think about how complex we are, and that's you, that's you and I. That's indicative of the limits of our abilities. And it's impressive to think about, what the upper limit of our potentials might actually be. And so dreams are a very regulatory phenomena. They help us make sense of the world that we observe. They help us organize, like it said, organize our thoughts. And they, one theory is that dreams are kind of your brain's way of exploring the mental landscape with increasingly new additions from your daily conscious experiences. And when you have especially impactful events happen to you, of course your brain's going to hang on, and it's going to try to, during sleep, cross-correlate that experience with previous experiences. And that's why you might have, a childhood memory intermingled with a memory from last week. And that's not to say there are superficial significances. It's I think insightful to consider that your dreams are your brain's way of, almost like a programming sandbox where you get to play around with ideas without actually, it's the way of thinking. We get to explore thought patterns without actually acting on them. And it's certainly in my life, I've had very impactful dreams, whether they're incredibly, depressing if something bad happens to someone close to me in my dream, or horrific if I find myself in a terrifying situation in a nightmare. It's impactful in a very useful way, I think, because it again, it lets me understand myself a little bit more, recognizing how I might act, how I might respond mentally, emotionally in a given situation, you know. So if I enjoy taking that perspective on my dreams. And I have a lot to learn. I don't know much about it, but I really latched onto that idea. I think it was maybe Carl Jung's idea of dreams, or at least just one component of his idea about that. Yeah, dreams are kind of, they seem so random, you know, they have this very random element to them, and it's kind of our brain's way of, and that's also kind of weird to think about your brain as both you and something distinct from you. It's like, I'm me right now, but also my brain kind of does something autonomously when the conscious me that I think is speaking right now is resting, you know. So it's like you're you, and you're the person that is within the environment that your brain creates in those dream landscapes. So it's kind of wonderful. It's magical almost that, you know, our brain's really on our side. It's just trying to make sense of the world and trying to connect ideas. And yeah, occasionally we wake up with profound senses of meaning and, you know, significance in our dreams that, oh wow, that was really helpful, you know, that was a really insightful thing that happened to me. Maybe it points you towards experiences that might give your life more meaning. If you experience the loss of a loved one in the dream, maybe that's your brain's way of telling you that that person means a little more than you recognized consciously. So yeah, dreams are amazing, and I'd definitely be interested in talking about them more in the future. And then this person ends with a little, a very small dream interpretation. It says, I had a dream. Paula and I got into trouble for driving from the elementary school to the high school when we were supposed to walk. Some authority figure, Mrs. Milan, caught us hiding behind boxes and started screaming at us. We didn't come out, and she called the cops, and then we ran away. And her analysis is that being chased is a common theme in dreams. You know, it's one of the most primordial things, fight or flight. And it can relate to things that pertain to anxiety and emotions of inferiority from, you know, experiences in life. So while we might not have gotten into the deepest scientific research about sleep, we can come away from this knowing that both the quantity and quality of sleep is definitely significant. You need, I would recommend 8 hours. I mean, some people, some very successful people, Schwarzenegger, Elon Musk, Trump, I think they all get less than 6 hours of sleep a night. I know me personally, I'm cognitively, and maybe it's just because I'm not adapted to less than 8, but when I get 8 hours of sleep, I am the most cognitively acute and alert. I wake up feeling most refreshed after having that much sleep. night of uninterrupted sleep leaves both our bodies and our minds rejuvenated for the next day. If sleep is cut short, we're really doing our body and our mind a disservice. The body won't have time to complete all its phases needed for muscle repair, memory consolidation, and the release of hormones that regulate growth and appetite as well. And you can imagine, I mean, it's not a stretch to assume the body is a functional, especially working on a circadian rhythm, a 24-hour-ish cycle. Diminishing the quality of activity in one area of that cycle is going to propagate negative repercussions down the line, and so it's going to make you, it's going to offset your appetite, it's going to deregulate your body's energy levels, your alertness, your judgment. You're probably going to be more likely to do things that are negative for your health. It's between concentration, decision making, being fully engaged in the moment, you're certainly not in your optimal consciousness when you don't have sufficient sleep. So just remember that. Pay attention to your body when it tells you you need to sleep. And do yourself a favor and get on a regular sleep schedule. Get on a regular daily routine, actually, for that matter. That's something I've been working on myself. I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I've noticed the benefits of being more routinized and being more rigid with my schedule. I love this ex-Marine. He's just a badass. Jocko Willink. He has a great podcast, I think just called the Jocko Podcast, in, blunt, Spartan Marine aesthetic, as you would imagine they would have. He has I think he has a book called this too, but his general philosophy is discipline equals freedom. And I like it's catchy because it doesn't make sense at first. But the idea behind it is that you allow yourself more free time by being more disciplined to efficiently take care of the chores and the daily responsibilities that you have to take care of. And by adhering to a routine, you don't have to waste time or mental effort. Mental energy is deciding what to eat, how to cook it, what to wear, when to be somewhere, when to leave the house, what to do before you leave the house, how to get yourself ready for bed. All these things add up to, a mental deficit at the end of the day, and it's really a detriment to yourself, and you're fighting against yourself. You're going against the grain when you don't have a routine and aren't disciplined. It's I'm slowly, too slowly, but eventually I'm getting around to figuring out that it's so beneficial. It's extremely healthy to live the most productive, efficient life that you possibly can, because your body rewards you with less anxiety. It knows what you're going to be doing. You can segregate and allot yourself a couple hours at the end of the day or in the morning, when you're most alert to, tackle the things that you have a passion for. And it's something certainly I would highly recommend. So sleep is key to ending and starting, of course, your waking activities. A couple facts as I'll let you go and either relax or drift off to sleep. If it takes you less than 5 minutes to fall asleep at night, you're probably sleep deprived. I know that doesn't make sense, but you should ideally take 10 to 15 minutes once your head hits that pillow to really wind down and sink into the state of unconsciousness we call sleep. Any less than that, you're probably not getting enough sleep then. And it's to be expected that you're going to be tired, and tiredness happens twice a day, as you would imagine on a rhythmic, cyclical existence. 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. for people, the people who rise with the sun, I guess, are the peak lethargy, times of peak lethargy during the day. That's why you're going to be much less alert after lunch. So, I personally just don't eat as big. I wait till evening to eat my big meals. Because after I eat a big meal, I know either way, even if I just woke up, I'm going to want to sit down and be a little bit sedentary for a little bit. Again, going back to not having a good schedule, the Monday morning social jet lags caused by weekend warrior mentality, switching up your schedule just to, suck a couple extra hours out of your weekend, it really kicks you in the ass by disrupting your regulatory systems like sleep. They're not used to staying up that late or on Monday morning getting up that early again. So you don't want to jolt yourself out of a routine. You want to try as consistently as possible to maintain that routine. At least if you want to, unless you're willing to pay the price of, an unregulated cycle, which might be more anxiety, more perhaps mental, maybe less emotional stability overall. Stress, physical or mental illness, living or sleeping arrangements, family history, shift work, working late into the night, long hours, diet, and exercise habits can all cause insomnia. Alright guys, this is probably a really good time for me to let you guys go. It just started raining outside, and maybe I'll let that play out for a little bit. Hope you guys were able to learn something. I hope you guys get plenty of sleep tonight. Thanks for watching, and as always, thank you guys enormously for all the support and kind words you always shower me with. It's an absolute honor to be able to spread ideas, I think, like TED Talks, I guess, worth sharing. I hope you guys got something out of this. I'll see you next time. Thanks.